What's going on, y'all? I am Terrell J. Starr. I am the host and founder of Black Diplomats Official, and I talk about all things foreign policy, mostly about Ukraine. In fact, I am in Ukraine right now in downtown Kyiv, and today I'm responding to a video that's been posted on Instagram by the handle Ukrainian Family in USA, and the guy's name is Oleg Karakash, and he's a refugee, who arrived in the U.S. after the full-scale invasion. He and his wife and their children, they've been in the States, and you look at his Instagram video, he posts all this video about his family life there, just, what it's like being a refugee, and it's just worthwhile watching. However, this video today is pretty sad because he's talking about the announcement that Donald Trump has said that he is considering revoking the temporary status of more than 240,000 Ukrainians who are currently in the United States. And so what that means is that in a matter of a month or so, they could possibly be facing deportation back to Ukraine. And it's really terrifying. And you look at this man, he was crying, is really upset. It's really sad. I'm going to respond to it, but I want to talk about some larger issues that come out as this man speaks. And so I'm going to start it right now.
It's happened, guys. Probably it's going to be the worst my video ever I make in this channel. I'm Oleg. We're a family from Ukraine, coming almost 2 years ago to United States under the refugee program. But today, the Trump revoked this program, and sorry for my stress, I'll try. So he revoked the program, he revoked our status, right? Like it can happen within a month. So we became illegal, 240,000 Ukrainians will become illegal 1 month from now. And why am I stressed out? I'm not worried about I will have to go from US. That's okay. I'll get it, Mr. If. But we have a newborn and we don't have a time. We need passport for her. Another 6 weeks. We don't have time.
Okay, so let's just talk about the sheer chaos that this has created. One, the Trump administration has not made it clear why they're even doing this. And so the news outlet that really came out with the reporting about this from the beginning has been Reuters. And so according to sources from the Trump administration, they're saying that the Trump administration's argument is that the Biden administration gave away this temporary status to people and it skirted the law, even though they provided no evidence about what laws were skirted. So this, what's happening right now to Oleg and his family, it's not just happening to Ukrainians. So just to let you know what's going on, this is, according to Reuters, this announcement is part of a larger rollback of protections for people to be stripped of their legal status. And these include 1.8 million migrants who've been allowed to enter the U.S. under temporary humanitarian parole programs. And that was launched under the Biden administration. This is people from South America, from Afghanistan, the Middle East. So it's not just Ukrainians. But if you listen to this guy, he's saying, like, you come to a country, you get settled, you can have a family, and the kid doesn't have a passport, Oleg said. And if we just have a month and it takes 6 weeks, how can we leave? But because Trump is a master of chaos, he wouldn't consider this, and quite frankly, I don't think he really gives a fuck, because I just think he's a cold son of a bitch.
I got to be honest with you, I don't really care what happens to Ukraine one way or another.
Let's keep watching.
This is horrible. It ain't right. We are refugees from Ukraine. Like, I'm first time telling this in this tone. Like, it ain't right. Like, okay, give us time. Why 1 month? Like, it's so horrible. One our friend in detention because his status was revoked.
Okay, so he mentioned his friend who was in detention. For a long time, the anti-immigrant sentiment has been targeted towards people of color, black people, for example. And now Ukrainians are beginning to feel a brunt of lots of the anti-immigrant sentiment that people of color have been experiencing for decades.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
The dehumanization of them began, and the reason why he was doing this is because he played into the fervor of white America, who felt like their whiteness is being devalued. And much has been written about America becoming a minority-majority country in several decades. And Georgia is one of those states that's approaching minority-majority status in decades as well. One of the fastest minority states that eventually where white people will be a minority. Trump knows this, and so he taps into this. And so in the past election cycle, Trump has been very effective at targeting migrants, saying that they bring in drugs. You heard the dogs and cats discourse.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
This fake story out of Springfield, Ohio. So, and also, if you notice during the campaign cycle, he says a lot about Ukrainians. Trump and J.D. Vance saying that we're sending all this money abroad, but it needs to be here at home. House Speaker Mike Johnson held up billions of dollars in aid to Ukraine because of the line of, we need to keep money at home and protect our borders.
The Republican-led House will not be jammed or forced into passing a foreign aid bill that was opposed by most Republican senators and does nothing to secure our own border.
And one of the common talking points has been the drugs coming through the border. So you all know about Doge and all this funding cuts in funding, right? If you care so much about drugs entering the border, how come you are literally cutting programs that support recovery from fentanyl? Because you know you care about fentanyl so much, right? So there's no sense in why Trump is doing this other than pure xenophobia and just cruelty. And it's just heartbreaking that Oleg is feeling the brunt of what so many immigrants have been feeling for decades.
Status was revoked. It is as horrible as possible. I'm freaked out. I don't know what to do. Like, seriously. We need to make passport for our new baby, because without passport, she cannot leave US. And we don't have this time, because they give a month. I don't know, if you guys have any ideas, just let me know, because I'm so peaceful person, but right now, I'm in super stress. What is going on? I wanna go right now, but I cannot, because I don't wanna be in this thing when every officer can stop me and hold me into detention. No, that's not, but I don't have time.
Okay, so here's the thing. What Oleg said at the end about he worries about a cop stopping him, boy, it's welcome to being black in America, right? But he speaks to the sentiment that many black immigrants have experienced. And this is even before Trump. Black immigrants have some of the closest contact with ICE because of racial profiling in the United States. So particularly places like New York City, where you had broken windows and you had a wide range of policies that just gave cops permission to stop and frisk everyone. In fact, if you are a black man who has never been stopped and frisked in New York, you're lucky as hell, and I'm one of those lucky people. But more than 90% of people who are stopped and frisked in New York, for example, have been black, and the numbers are not that much different across the country. So it's a real thing. And so just take me, for example. If I'm stopped by cops, number one, I haven't done anything, and number two, you probably discriminated against me. And I take out my ID and I'm fine. But you have somebody who has a status where they're actually legal to stay, but something like this happens, they're screwed, right? And so that puts them in contact with ICE, not necessarily because of their status, but because they're black and they were profiled. That is the story of Black America and the black immigrant. Now with Oleg here, it's interesting because I've never heard a white person talk about their fear of being stopped by police. That's really something that stands out to me. And it speaks to how xenophobia doesn't give a fuck about the color of your skin. We think that white people have the complexion for the protection, but under this xenophobic fascist society that we're living in the United States, Oleg has that fear. And unfortunately, it's sad because there's no reason for him to feel this. And I don't want you all to think that I'm just jumping on this guy to make a point. Hey, that's not the case at all. In fact, my heart goes out to him. And you all know me as a humanitarian. My work has always been around getting us to come together to realize the racism that I experience will ultimately be converted into the xenophobia that people like Oleg will experience.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison.
Another reason why I really want to get into this whole thing of Ukrainians and whiteness is because even though when they come to the United States or they go to Canada, for example, yes, they are classified as white, but that term doesn't speak to the legacy and the present oppression that they're facing from Russia. Within the context of where they live, they are an oppressed people. And so simply calling them white doesn't apply. And I was speaking to a Ukrainian Canadian woman on Instagram Live the other night who spoke to that very point.
When Trump said, your people, I felt like it was such a big disregard for the fact that there are Americans there. There are people from the United Kingdom. There's Spanish. There was people from Colombia. And when you walk in Kiev's Maidan Square, you see all the flags from all the different countries. And I just don't understand how the world can abandon us again. It just feels very inhumane. And when people talk about Ukraine, they talk about like the color of skin and things. They don't. I think about the people, and they don't think about the things we've been through. My own family like went through the internment camps in Canada. Nobody talks about those or teaches that in school. We're always othered, and I just am watching the world other us again.
Okay, guys, so why am I explaining this to you? Why am I taking so much time to talk about the construct of race as it pertains to Oleg and Ukrainians and everything that's happening to them? It's really simple. For all of our country's history, the people who integrated to whiteness in America are taught to hate black people. And what's so unfortunate about that is now under Trump, whiteness isn't the protection that we all thought it was. And this excerpt from the Karen Hunter show really breaks down why that is.
I feel that we've been dealing with this as black people all the time. So now I feel like Trump is treating white people like, I'm sorry, the N-word.
You know what though, Barry? This country always did. The fact that the poorest counties in this country are white, the poorest, the worst education, the worst health care, predominantly white counties, tells you that this country is always not considered or taken care of its own white folk. And it's always been about pitting white people and black people against one another, while the oligarchs, the richest of the richest, kept their hands in our pockets, each of us, while they got us fighting. Right? As they open up whiteness, first it was the Irish that came in and it's like, okay, the N-word's the problem. Then it was the Italians. You know, you can be white Italians if you just look at the moolies, you know what I'm saying, as your problem. But it's always been the top 1%. And now I think the veil is off.
We really need to come together and think about how we can participate in each other's liberation. That's really my key takeaway from this video. Because there's really no sense to what's happening to him, none at all. And this guy's fear is very real. If I could help him in any way, I would. But I think the best thing that I can do right now is really build community. I think that Ukrainians and black folks and other people of color who are dealing with this issue This is the time when we come together and fight. My trainer, who's Afro-Ukrainian, by the way, she's always asking me, are Americans fighting back against Trump? Are they fighting back against this tyranny? And I tell her yes. And I said, look at the news. I showed her some things. I said, hey, we are fighting back. And so we need to fight back for all of our liberation. I care about Oleg's freedom and his safety as much as I do the immigrant from Haiti, the migrant from Afghanistan. I care about them all equally, but unfortunately, because of our racist society, it prioritizes one group of people over the other, and Trump's xenophobia doesn't prioritize no fucking body, because he's a racist son of a bitch, and his racism has spilled over to Ukrainians. We need to come together, y'all. We need to fight this shit, because I don't want to see anyone suffering. And so that's my takeaway. If we can get anything from this, I want us to come together and fight, because we can win together. We can get into our individual battles, but Trump xenophobia is a war. We can win our battles, but we will never win this war. We need to team up. We need to get the battalions together and fight them back, because together we can win. Peace and blessings to you, dear Oleg. Peace and blessings.